Is that about 4 o'clock?
Hanukkah is so exciting.
Exciting.
Well, I learned last year that, if we didn't have Hanukkah, we wouldn't have Christmas.
That's right.
And so it just makes it that much more exciting that the Maccabees had fought.
Yeah.
And they didn't give in and go get oil from across the street and let the miracle happen. And I'm so excited because it is a time of miracles. And I'm believing for a miracle this 8 days.
Yeah.
So, why did y'all learn Hebrew?
I took a couple of classes from a guy named Izzy Abraham in
In town?
Albuquerque. No, he's out of Albuquerque. But there are a lot of different, sometimes just hearing it over and over. And the first congregation I went to had a class that they taught the Hebrew.
The drawing up there, I'm assuming those are letters.
Yes,
The ones off to the side, yeah, those are the Hebrew letters, yeah.
for Vayeshev.
Yeah. The one.
So once you know the
Shin.
letters, you can read it.
Once you learn the letters and the vowel points, you can pronounce it.
Yeah,
Once you learn the letters and the vowel points, you can
pronounce when you read them.
Vowel points, so the little dots over and
Little
above.
dots for the underlying things, yeah.
Mhm.
So what does that word say?
Vayeshev.
Vayeshev.
It translates to, as if you're talking about it, it's and he settled or and he dwelt.
That's
So
what our portion.
it's the name of this Torah
The
portion.
blank look is because I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's because of the Vayeshev is the word, is the first word of this week's Torah portion, and so that becomes the title of the portion or something. It's often the first word or somewhere in the first 2 verses typically. It's called the title of the portion.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
Was also the name of the book.
Right, exactly. Like
Genesis.
Bereshit is the name of the book of Genesis in Hebrew, but it's also the first word of the first Torah portion, and the first Torah portion is called Bereshit also.
Yeah.
So
In the beginning.
in this case, it's the first word of Genesis 37 verse 1, which is and he settled and he dwelt or and he continued to live, something along those lines.
They didn't have chapter and verse, so
Yeah.
they started off with the first letter, the first major word in the Torah portion so that they would know which one you were talking about.
Okay.
All right. So before we get started on the, is this working? It doesn't work.
Remote issues,
Well,
very computer issues.
So did your parents speak Hebrew?
Did your parents?
Were they I was gonna say practicing you.
No,
Mine think I'm in a cult. I said mine think I'm in a cult.
Yours thinks you're in cult. It's very tiny.
all right. So the text says in Deuteronomy 8 verse 10, you'll eat and be satisfied, and you'll bless Adonai for the good land he has given you. So let's do that. Abba, we have eaten and we're satisfied. We thank you for the land. It's in Yeshua's name. Amen.
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 Right. So this was the readings we did today. And the maftir is kind of unusual in the sense that, or even the phrase is this idea that it's a repetition of the last couple of verses of the text to give emphasis sometimes, or to, in other cases, it's to basically have read something that's a future event that's kind of a blessing in many cases. So let's continue on then with, this was our first verse, and this is Vayeshev is in the top right of this. And let's see. Okay, so starting out here from a previous Torah portion, Isaac blesses Jacob. May people serve you and nations bow down to you. be master of your brothers, and may your cursed sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you. So the blessing was to be master of your brothers. How many brothers did Jacob have?
How about Jacob only had one brother,
Mm-hmm.
Esau.
Esau.
So I think what this case might mean is, when you think about their father, Isaac's father, Abraham, had more than Jacob, right? Or I'm sorry, more than
Isaac.
Isaac, right?
He had 12 other sons
Yes.
after Sarah died.
Yes, and so I think this is used in a sense of overarching, be master over your brothers, as in the multiple brothers, the multiple sons of or descendants of Abraham. Which kind of leads us to where we are in this portion, where our reading begins with, these are the records of the generations of Jacob, Toldot Yaakov. Now, we can talk about this more, but we've discussed something like this in the past, where we've looked at Yaakov, right? Yaakov, Jacob, was renamed right after his wrestling match.
Mhm.
But this comes after that time, but he's still called Jacob here. So it's not necessarily as clear cut. We don't see others that are renamed. We don't see, for example, Joshua. We'll see him later. We don't see Abraham renamed to Avram, or ever called Abram again. We don't see Joshua, who's also renamed, called Hosea again, right? He's always called Yehoshua or Joshua again.
Could this have to do with kind of the differentiating the man and the nation?
Well, I don't know. You can research that out and see. One view is that when Jacob is being more the shifty character, he's called Jacob, and he's being the righteous character, he's called Israel. But I'm not sure if that even bears out either over
Because
time.
this really is not being bad.
No.
I was gonna ask if the screen before this, like I see a lot of propheticness to it. Could it have been prophetic in nature that, this down the line that, Israel would have all these brothers and
That's
people
when you
would bow
get
down?
into the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob was the natural seed.
Mhm.
When he became Israel, it has to do with the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
And so when you get into the prophets, when it's referring to Jacob, it's referring to the Jews as Jews today,
Yeah.
even.
Because it talks about nations, and there were none at that point, but
Israel, whenever he struggled with God, and it's the same thing in Abraham, Sarah, the H in the middle of the name represents the breath of God to us. And so it's, as a Jewish believer, when you talk about Israel prophetically, has to do with the grafting in of the nations to the root of Jacob.
Really?
because even where it says, "Cursed be those who curse you," isn't there another scripture where God says, "I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you"? So-
Abraham.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So this to me seems like it's very prophetic going forward. Do you know, I don't know.
Well, it's
What if we
continuing
just look at
the
this
blessing.
and see, what if this could be transported to this week's Torah portion? This is Isaac blessing Jacob,
Mhm.
but the one who is perhaps being discussed here is Joseph, right?
Yes.
Your mother's sons bow down
Right,
to you.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's like, to me, it's so prophetic. And I hadn't seen that before, but I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, sorry, you can go on.
No,
I
great.
should have asked it before you.
No, that's
went to the
fine.
next one.
Your mother's sons, not my sons. Your mother's sons. Why would why is it put that way? Particularly, his mother is not different than Esau's mother at the time. That they both had the same mother. But like Abraham, his children didn't all have the same mother.
Well, and further, when we read chapter 37 today, there's a kind of a discussion or a question from Jacob to Joseph.
Oh, yeah, he says, why do you think you and your mother are gonna, which would be,
So Rachel was already dead by this time.
So it
Yeah,
would be
so I
Leah.
mentioned mother.
Right.
it would be Leah and the two concubines.
Yeah, according to tradition, after Rachel's death, Benjamin the youngest and Joseph were mothered by Zilpah, one of the servants. Handmaids, yeah. So that's why I think it's a good look at this to be. There's always a Peshat version, always a simple interpretation, but oftentimes there are other prophetic looks at things that drash or something even deeper than that in this sort of context. So the answer to your question about what may your mother's sons bow down to you is perhaps looking at it from a wider perspective than just Jacob's mother,
Birth mother.
because Jacob's mother's son is Esau, right? So, but this says in the plural. So sons, not just son. We don't have a record of Rebecca having more than Jacob and Esau as
No, Benjamin. Rivka.
Rivka,
Okay,
Esau, and
Sorry.
Jacob. Right?
okay. I'm into Rebecca here.
What did, so God gave Abraham that first, I'll bless those who, I'll curse.
Mhm, right.
He gave him that part. So was the other added from Isaac added to the blessing?
It carries through. You see the listing of you'll be bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, to Abraham, but also to Isaac, and here it's being and this slide is to Jacob. So it's that lineage is the one that gets the blessing that's
That
being
branch of
discussed.
the lineage.
That branch of the lineage. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. So yeah, it's the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the patriarchal side of it that gets the blessing. But I think you can expand the numbers here. Be master of your brothers, may your mother's sons bow down to you. It seems that it's probably more inclusive in the sense that those who are your cousins, Moabites and Midianites, and those people are cousins through Ishmael or through the earlier branch of, from
The other branch of the family.
other branches of the family.
Branches of the family.
But the other branches of the family, though, sometimes come back and mix in with the same branch here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because
They intermarry.
we'll see, in this Torah portion, it's very interesting that, it's an odd way that Peretz was born. And Peretz is in the line of David, the line of Messiah. And so it was an odd way, a not very, you could say it's a sinful way that he became, born, but through that liaison would come King David. But going back to another way King David is also in the same genealogy, right? Is through Ruth, right?
Mhm.
But Ruth comes from Moab.
Moab, yeah.
And Moab is a product of Lot and one of his daughters, which is incest, right?
Right.
But that line that goes through, Messiah comes through Ruth, which came from Moab. The line through on the other side, on Judah's side, of course, comes through Judah having a sexual liaison with his daughter-in-law, or whom he thought was a prostitute. So one of the things I would say is that when you look at things in an overarching way, when things would be, not, if someone retelling a story or telling a story would only include things that are positive, you can wonder whether that's even true. But when things come through that is not entirely, is questionable and scratching your head saying, well, was David really the right person? I mean, he was a man of God after God's own heart, but then there's Bathsheba, right? Mm-hmm. So there's these vignettes that come through that are not entirely positive. You can kind of look at it and see that if they told things that are not positive, it's more an idea of this is true. Because you wouldn't tell something if it was you're making it up. You wouldn't make up a story that's an ugly story, right?
Exactly.
You wouldn't make up an ugly story about the good guy. If you're making a myth, then you'll never do anything, to go against that. So you can see that these aren't myths because they tell kind of the ugly side of history.
And God still uses it.
And he does, absolutely, yes.
There's hope for us. Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things that we've talked about it, we just mentioned here a few minutes ago, someone said that originally there weren't vowel points, right? Did you say that, Z?
I think Linda did.
Linda, okay. Well, that's the kind of case when you look in your Bible in Genesis 37:2, the second verse of our portion. Joseph is 17 here, and he's pasturing the flock. So the Hebrew word there is ro'eh, which is to shepherd. So he's pasturing or shepherding the flock. The three letters are the same as down below, where it says brought back a bad report.
Yeah.
The letters are exactly the same, ro'eh and ra'ah. It's the same letters. Could you switch it around? When Joseph was 17, he was eviling the flock? No, right? Yeah, that's why Hebrew, it's a language that there are fewer words and more context is required to make sure. And obviously, the vowel points are there now, but
how did they make it? I mean, how did they understand it back then, though, when there wasn't?
By context.
by context.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is the word ra'ah. Here's the lexicon entry. It's hard to see back there, but ra is the root word of that. And you're looking down below, what I'm getting to is ra'ah is translated as a bad report or an evil report. But it doesn't always mean morally evil. Because if you go back to Jacob or to Joseph here, he's not giving a morally evil report about his brothers, right? He's giving a report that's truthful, but it's not a good report, right? It's a bad report because his brothers are not behaving properly. And so that word ra'ah or can mean, depending on the context, can mean moral evil, but you have to look at the context. For example, it can mean disaster as well. And a disaster doesn't necessarily imply moral evil. For example, if looking at Jeremiah 51:2, I will dispatch foreigners to Babylon, that they may winnow her and may devastate her land. For on every side they will be opposed to her in her day of Ra'ah. Calamity is how it's translated here. And so if you leave it as evil, so it's a language that, words can be more than one thing. You can't translate a word Ra'ah every time as calamity or every time as evil, because it doesn't give the sense of it. For example, in the day of her evil would not make a lot of sense. And then you have a problem with God causing evil to happen on Israel here in this case in Jeremiah 51. Now, when you look at it in terms of the people doing bad, I'm sure when calamity comes upon them,
They're wanting to know what evil they had done to cause it.
or they would call it a calamity. They may call it evil that happened to them, but they're the one who caused them to do it. For example, Isaiah 45, I form the light and I create the darkness. I make well-being, shalom, and I create ra, disaster,
Or evil.
or evil. But in my comment, in the same way that there cannot be a round square, if Yah is good, then he cannot be also morally evil. He can bring a punishment, a disaster, a calamity on those who do moral evil, Babylon, or in some cases, Israel. And those receiving the calamity may well perceive it as evil. And that's, if bad things happen to you, you'll think it's evil. It may be a calamity based on something that you helped bring about.
Or a lot of times Israel would have bad things happen to them and they would sit there and say, we've sinned against God, which is if they've repented. Which would be evil. We did evil against God to have this happen to us, this calamity.
Yes, we brought it about.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to our Torah portion. These are the records. This is the Toldot, the genealogy of the generations of Jacob. ... And Joseph brought back a bad report about them to their father. Was Joseph right to bring a bad report about his brothers?
That's what his father's sent him to do, to find out how they were, what they were doing.
He might have been a little
A
biased.
status report.
You could have chose not to snitch.
Or he may have had a little bit more bias to what happened to make it sound worse than it was.
One thing I think that you can see from Jacob's trust in Joseph is that he will bring back an unfiltered report.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that in the dreams, right?
He was honest.
The dreams, he didn't seem to know or care that his brothers would hate him for bringing back or telling him the dream where they're bowing down to him. He had almost like no idea that he wasn't supposed to say exactly what it was, to tell exactly what it did, and not keep it to himself. And so it set him up, in a sense, to be put into exile. But when you look at the things we've talked about, things come about even under bad situations. Had Israel's brothers, or as Israel's sons, not decided, let's kill Joseph and eventually sell him into slavery, if they had not done that, what would the outcome be?
Israel would have never went to Egypt to be sheltered there until their time.
They would have starved to death.
They may the line of Messiah may have starved to death in the land of Canaan because there wasn't enough food. Because if Joseph hadn't done the things he did, even Egypt would have starved, right?
Yeah.
And Egypt didn't starve because Joseph was there. And because Israel I mean, because Egypt didn't starve, neither did Israel. And so their moral evil in saying, let's kill our brother, resulted in,
That's what opened the door to the path that made the other stuff happen.
yes,
Jacob was partial to Rachel's children over Leah's children.
Yeah.
And they probably all knew it. So it created competition.
yeah, we see that in this portion, the first couple of verses, where it says that Jacob gave Joseph the whatever translation you read for that, long sleeve robe, multicolored tunic. He gave him a special garment that set him apart
He
from
was
everyone
favored.
else.
Showed he was.
He was the
favorable.
favorite, is what it says. He was the favored son because he was the firstborn of the wife he loved. The wife he wanted to marry from the beginning was not Leah, right? It was Rachel. And yet, the line of Messiah comes through
Rachel. Judah.
Judah, which is from Leah,
And-
not Rachel. Rachel's two sons were,
Joseph and Benjamin.
yes,
Was Judah the one that was going to go back and get him out of the cistern?
That was
Is that- is that-
Reuben.
Reuben.
Reuben, the oldest. Okay.
Eldest.
Yeah, we don't really see, we see in this story, Judah is not entirely upright, but he steps to the fore because, what happened with Reuben? What's the history of Reuben? Why wasn't Reuben,
He slept in his father's bed.
Yeah. he took one of his father's concubines. So that kind of moved him out of being the firstborn. And so perhaps that was part of the thing saying, okay, well, you're the firstborn son of Leah, but you, Joseph, the firstborn son of Rachel, and so I'm going to call you my heir, which is kind of what he was. It seemed like that he was showing when he gave him the special garment.
It'll sure show you how to parent.
Well, I'd say that's
Pay attention.
picking favorites of kids is probably not the best way to parent.
I wonder
What
though
could
if
happen?
it wasn't more that, like you said, that was who he wanted to marry.
Mm-hmm.
He had it in his mind, and had he not been tricked,
Yeah.
that would have been his wife and the firstborn. So he kind of honored that, even though somebody else had their hand in it and kind of turned it around. I always felt like he was like establishing, I don't care what your father did, this is who is my firstborn and my wife. And of course, he loved her and him. Not that I think he did love his other children, but like you said, to be his heir, he looked at Joseph as the firstborn, even though it was years later and because of all things. And I often wonder if, because Rachel took her father's idols,
Yeah.
that if there wasn't some sort of, I don't want to say punishment, but
There was, she
The only-
died
the
in
one-
childbirth.
yeah. Well, and then she took
And
so
remember
long
Remember,
to
he said when
conceive.
she was sitting on the idols.
Right. She
What did he-
lied, yeah.
Well, what did he say would be the fate of anybody found with those idols?
They would be put to
They
death.
would die.
Yeah.
Die
So
in
it's
childbirth.
right, yeah. So there's a lot, yeah. And I always wonder, like, if she took them then, did she hang on to those? And so, I mean, you have her, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I wish I could have been back there for seeing more.
We think families now are complicated.
I know, right?
I mean, you just cursed your daughter.
Mhm.
So kitzanet pasim is the words used for the New American Standard Translation, the varicolored tunic. I've also seen it translated as long robe, long sleeve robe, fine woolen coat.
The old Sunday school story, coat of many colors.
What was it? The Continentals, the other thing, the Joseph and the multicolored dream coat.
Technicolor.
Technicolor. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's see, I do have something to say here. I remember just enough to be dangerous. It talks about when Joseph went to go find his brothers and he couldn't find them.
Wandering around.
And the guy tells him that they went to the town that starts with a D.
Dothan,
Yes.
not one in Alabama.
But what I've heard about that place is there's a lot of like sinkholes. And it is not a place that you would have normally taken your sheep because they would have fallen in these
Oh, wow.
holes. It was known for all these sinkholes that just kind of appeared.
Well, he did fall into a pit.
Yeah,
He got thrown into a pit.
they threw him
It's a
into a
cistern.
pit, but that's what I had heard, that you wouldn't have normally taken your sheep to pasture there
So you
because it
wonder
was,
why they went there. Huh?
because it was dangerous.
Yeah. Why'd they end up there?
That was all I remember of the sermon, so you can take it or read it.
Hatching a plan.
But I did think that was, I mean, because he's wandering around, he probably would not have thought that they would have, if this place was
Yeah,
dangerous.
he's not gonna be where all those pits are with the sheep.
With the sheep, he's not gonna, yeah, and so somebody had to tell him that's where they had taken the sheep.
That might have been part of the bad report too. They were doing stupid things with the sheep.
Well, that's true, maybe he didn't like the way they were taking care of the sheep.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. When he sends them, he doesn't know. He's just sending them out to do it. This slide talks about. It's very clear. This falls on the right after the multicolored tunic. His brothers saw that their father loved him, as in Joseph, more than all his brothers, and so they hated him and could not talk to him in civil terms. So this hatred, was this love, this favoritism was overt. That we are not making a interpretation. We say that the coat was what may have done this, caused it. It's clear. It's right in the text saying they understood that he was the favorite and they weren't.
I've heard somebody say that to give somebody a coat that was like this was somebody that you wouldn't have to do manual labor and work, because he would be dressed up kind of like the king, or you're fancy, you don't go out and dig ditches in this coat.
Mm-hmm.
So you're put on a higher pedestal.
That would sure make your older brother mad.
Yeah, they're out digging ditches and you get to stand over them and say, you didn't dig that straight. Yeah,
Yet he still did stand over him.
yes, he did.
You be mad all you want. That was God's plan.
That's right.
So this is what I'm talking about. Joseph without the filter. Your sheaves gathered around and bowed down to my sheaf. So it's one of those things where he is, being clear that.
Was he bragging or searching for their interpretation of it?
I think he was just telling them what it was.
Right. Yeah.
He was just informing them, hey, isn't
Why
this?
would you?
He was autistic and didn't relate to how people.
I mean, why would you just
Didn't
say
understand the
something?
social construct of being
He had Asperger's.
high functioning.
Well, they're very smart. They just don't get the clues that other people are ticked at you when you say these things.
So are you really going to reign over us? Are you really going to rule over us? So they hated him before because the coat, verse 8 here, so they hated him even more for his dreams.
And this wasn't what started it.
Right? It was just adding on,
Adding on,
piling on the
confirming their.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really does like him more.
Yes.
He got a wagon and all I got was a chicken.
Some of his brothers.
Yeah.
So this was part of our Torah portion today,
Nothing. Oh, yes.
or Haftorah. Surely God does nothing unless he reveals his secret counsel to his servants, the prophets. So Joseph was clearly having a prophetic vision.
One of the things I thought was interesting in Amos, when they sold him for whatever they sold him for, price-wise, I have been told that that basically gave everybody a pair of sandals. I mean, that was what equivalent. They sold him for nothing, basically. And one of the first verses in Amos talked about the sandals on their feet.
Said that the rich are sold for silver and the poor sold for sandals.
Yeah, and I put that to the, how much he was sold for was basically, they each got a pair of sandals out of selling him for what they sold him for.
Wow.
They might have been Birkenstocks, so they're good.
As if he were the bottom of their shoe.
Right.
Yeah, so they gotta wipe the dirt off their feet, and, yeah.
C-Series says the dreams sort of held them accountable when they saw him actually revealed literally later.
Yeah.
So basically, the prophetic dreams came true in their lifetime.
Oh, are we online now?
Yes.
Okay.
Jacob was a dreamer too, yeah?
He received information in a dream on what to do, for example, with the stripes on the sheep.
Well, and Rachel was told that the twins, which one would be, not Rachel, yes,
Yes, that's why she was favoring Jacob.
Rebecca, which one?
Rebecca, not Rachel. Yeah.
They both start on R.
Mhm.
That which one of the twins would inherit.
And serve the other one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a prophetic family coming on here.
Definitely.
And Issachar was one of Joseph's brothers from Leah?
Yes.
From one of the
Mhm.
handmaidens,
I think one of the handmaidens.
because that's the tribe that knew the times and seasons. So he must have got a good dose.
So Joseph doesn't stop telling his dreams, even though his brothers hate him. Then he talks about the sun, moon, the stars bowing down to him. Verse 10, and his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have had? Shall I and your mother and your brothers actually come to bow ourselves down before you to the ground?
I think
You
it's
had no mother?
interesting. Oh, go ahead. I think it's interesting that he says your mother when the mother was already passed.
What mother is he talking about?
Yeah.
Well, according to tradition, he was raised by Zilpah.
Zilpah, okay.
So
her-
it could be that, or he could be speaking of,
Leah.
or his mother resurrected.
Oh,
I think more Leah, because she would have been the head, she was the head wife.
But she still wasn't his mother.
No. But the other
Aunt.
two really weren't.
could have said, shall I and your aunt? I don't know. But
Jacob got
it
it.
says her mother.
He got it when he told him the dream.
Yes.
He had the interpretation quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Because Joseph doesn't say father and mother,
Right.
right? He says sun, moon, and 11 stars.
Mhm.
So who interprets it as a mother?
Jacob.
Yeah.
Jacob.
Interesting.
The second dream, the end of it in verse 11, his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept the saying in mind, or his brothers envied him, but his father guarded the word.
I like that one.
It's kind of like Mary pondering all these things in
I
her
was
heart.
about to say that.
Yeah. I think that's a good analogy. So Joseph, the Shliach, the sent one. So Joseph is sent from his father. Now here in verse 13, it's not Jacob, it's Israel. sending Joseph. He says, "Aren't your brothers in Shechem? Come and I will send you to them." And he responded, "I will go." So Joseph, the trusted son, is sent by his father to bring back the accurate report. Because he understands that he's not going to filter the information, even to please his brothers, certainly. That's not what he's going to do.
Actually, I can see that. Well, I know we've got Ben David and Ben Joseph.
Mhm.
And this would be prophetic in the fact that God the Father sent his son to earth.
Yeah, I would say that there are a lot of parallels between Joseph and Yeshua.
His brothers didn't accept him and his people didn't accept Jesus.
Didn't accept him. He was thrown into a pit.
Yep,
He was pulled out of the pit. He was resurrected in some way from the pit.
yep.
He was sold for a price of silver, different numbers, but 30 for Yeshua and 20 for Joseph. Maybe, inflation was even something back then. But the silver, I think, is a silver sometimes has a connotation of judgment as a metal, as an item. Silver can sometimes refer to judgment. And so they're bringing about perhaps a judgment on themselves by engaging in selling something that isn't theirs to sell. And they're later, the brothers are later tell Joseph, and I think he's an Egyptian, they'll tell him that we are upright men. So I guess he probably knows that that's not quite exactly,
Right.
completely accurate.
Pretty sure I know you.
Yeah.
So this is a question. Go now and see about the welfare of your brothers and the welfare of the flock, and bring back word to me. So he sent them from the valley of Hebron, and he came back to Shechem, and he came to Shechem. What is kind of puzzling about this passage? Well, I think the puzzling thing about the passage is that
Hebron was
it's not a valley.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. And so,
Is there another word for valley that they used for valley that?
yeah, it's a play on words potentially of between Emek and Amak, I believe is the word. Same vowel, same spelling of the letters, different vowel points. Emek is valley, Amak is like mystery. So you could say it's a deep valley of mystery. That's how it's interpreted in some of the mystical writings, like the Zohar. Talk about is a deep valley of mystery, because there is something going on here that's not quite normal. You mentioned Mashiach ben Yosef and ben David, I think. Yeah. So there is a concept called Mashiach ben Yosef, or Messiah, son of Joseph. And sometimes Rabbinic Judaism has accounted for different aspects of Messiah. That would be more of the lowly side of it, like riding in on a donkey, lowly and humble, as two different Messiahs. Messiah, son of Joseph, Messiah, son of David. And in this tradition of that, or this a tradition of that, Messiah ben Joseph will be killed during a war against evil. And he's the one being referenced to being pierced in the passage, such as the prophecy in Zechariah 12. I'm not really go into that completely or into more detail here, but this idea, there is an idea within Rabbinic Judaism about two Messiahs, Messiah ben Joseph and Messiah ben David.
Well, we've had, as far as they're concerned, we've had Ben Joseph. They were expecting Ben David to free them, the warrior.
Right. The odd thing, though, you think about it, in this idea, why would Ben Joseph be the suffering servant? Because Joseph's,
He was a king, basically.
well, and who was the leader of Israel who was a descendant of Joseph? Joshua. Joshua was a conqueror, a warrior, right?
Yeah.
He was a warrior, not necessarily a suffering servant.
But it seems like Joseph did all the suffering. I mean, he had a lot of stuff
Although
done to him.
David's life wasn't rosy.
Nope.
No, it wasn't, but he
Him and Saul's.
Yeah.
he ended up as a warrior, whereas we don't really have anything about Joseph going on to fight. He ruled, but not necessarily
And he
fought like David did. David had bad things happen.
And then
Yes.
then he suffered under his brothers and Pilate,
Yeah.
and not Pilate, what's his name? Potiphar.
Mhm.
Start with a P.
Yeah.
Same thing, Potiphar and Pilate.
Yeah. They start with a P.
Yeah.
P-O.
Mhm.
So,
And yes, Jesus, when he returns, he is coming back as a warrior.
Yes.
So here he
So
came
is
as the
he-
suffering.
Right, so if you come back as a warrior, is that David or Joseph?
I would say it's David.
David.
Could be. I think you're right. He never really acknowledges the idea of Messiah being Joseph in his lifetime, or at least on earth, because he's called, he's called son of David. He's, somebody calling out to him, and he is that one. But we kind of see there's a dual aspect, right? There is a suffering servant, and there's a conquering king. And you can say there's a concept like here now, but not yet. So the conquering king is around. He's just not doing his conquering at this point in
Right.
time. So it's just like Mashiach, just like the new covenant in a sense, right? It's here now, but it's not yet in its fullness, because new covenant requires that everybody knows Adonai. Is what it says in Jeremiah 31. So
Still being fulfilled.
still being fulfilled, still under, still being built. The kingdom is still being built. It's common for anti-missionaries to point out that Yeshua has not fulfilled all the prophecies and to conclude that he can't be the Messiah. This tactic trades in the fact that you have never heard of Mashiach ben Yosef. But now you have, and so the response would be, well, what about Mashiach ben Yosef? Someone says something about that.
And we could say, and what about Ben David is going to be coming? It's two aspects of,
Or I think that would catch someone on their heels, or pushing them back on their heels. They're saying, well, see, your Messiah fulfilled all the prophecies about being Messiah. Well, what about Mashiach ben Yosef?
and when Ben David comes, he will fulfill the rest of it.
What if it's the same one?
That's a good sword right about there.
All right, so there's a website. I'm not sure if it's going to work on this, because the Roku doesn't really have internet connection, so I'm not sure if it can get there. But if you look on the website HebrewForChristians.com,
Let's see if I can blow this up. My husband
Smile,
used-
Wayne.
No, my husband used to say this is the best copy machine there is.
You got 3 of them shooting at you.
run. This shows 60 parallels
Wow,
to Yosef and Yeshua.
Okay.
that's cool. Hebrew for Christians.
HebrewForChristians.com, and this just says printer version, but it's, if you look down here and look for the article Mashiach ben Yosef.
Yeah. By the way, that Hebrew for Christians, if you want to learn Hebrew, is a very excellent.
They do have some interesting things there. They have listing for all the
Yeah.
nichud, all the vowel points, what they all are, what they mean. Okay, Potiphar's wife, chapter 39. In this house, I am his equal. He hasn't withheld anything from me, except yourself, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?
Any sin you do against anybody else, you're sinning against God.
Mhm.
Good point. We know that sin is defined as what in 1 John 3, verse 4?
Violation of the Torah.
Violation of Torah. And so, since Torah hadn't been written yet, how did Joseph know this thing was sin?
Something was written from the beginning of life. Else how could Adam and shortly after him know that they weren't supposed to eat certain animals and all that?
God said he would write it on the tablets of our heart. What if it was already written on Joseph's heart?
In the idea of the commandments, some of them are listed, are thought to be ones that are obvious.
Well, would it be
Right.
the law of Noah?
No kind? Not
That,
really.
that was what I
No,
was.
because that's,
Well, but,
That's,
Oh, that's,
but
what
what did, when, the two brothers, when he killed, before he killed, he said,
Cain.
sin is at Cain, yeah, he said, sin is at your door,
mhm.
and you have to master it, but he'd never, ever said anything about, I mean, at least not in Genesis, there's nothing there of what is sin, so there was a part of them morally that they knew something was
They knew
wrong.
it already without
Yes.
having been told it.
Yeah,
Those kind of commandments are the ones that are obvious.
right,
Things like murder,
yeah.
things like adultery. Those are obvious sorts of things that are sinful. This would be a sexual sin as well, right? He'd be
Mhm.
having sex with someone else's wife.
Right.
So it's an obvious no-no. And so it's you can say that's, it's a type of sin, but this doesn't use the term, I mean, this uses the word chatat or chatat, which is the type of sin that it's the word that's generally for sin, but often can be used for unintentional sin as well. But it's an overarching category of sin, and there's two other types, pasha and avon. Those are the,
Well, I would think this would be an intentional sin.
I agree. It's just listed as, in this terminology, this is listed as a sin against Elohim, or it doesn't use the specific word for if it's unintentional or intentional, or if it's particularly wickedness, but it just uses the overarching term for sin. So the idea of it is, it's a wicked thing and sinned against God. But we know that it's something that's obvious to not do as well.
But she didn't even pause.
no, this wasn't new to her. It was probably a habit. I would bet you.
I mean, it didn't give her any kind of, what'd you just say? Sin against who?
Yeah.
Like,
When your conscience is seared.
Yeah, right.
Well, and I do like I hadn't thought about it. She's probably done this before.
Because it was without hesitation.
Right, she thought she'd done it before and got away with it, sure, he'll do it too.
So here's some life applications perhaps from this vignette. Men, do not minister to women by yourself. Women, do not minister to men by yourself.
right? Men don't speak, well, let me back up. Women do not speak men language. So ministering to a man, being a woman, doesn't actually help much.
It's probably less
because
effective, you could say.
they
It has
don't,
some negatives, that's for sure.
they don't hear the same as we speak. You don't hear the same as we speak. So, and depending on, I only know this because our store, which is just right over here, it's a secular store, and I just use it as highway and hedges. I'm gonna go fishing wherever I can fish.
Mhm.
But I have tried to minister to men, but that particular man, his heart wasn't right anyways. So no hook for Jesus there,
Mhm.
maybe later, but
Sowing a seed.
yeah.
What a prisoner might say from this is, don't leave evidence behind as well. That's the other thing, life lesson learned.
Should have took his cloak with him.
Wear your coat. Don't just leave it off. Paul wrote, be on the alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. But,
Well, he was being strong. Would you say he's being strong if he had just stayed there?
No, I think that, yeah, it's situational dependent.
Yeah.
He did,
He did the strong
There's
thing.
also the passage about fleeing from sexual immorality, fleeing from temptation.
Mhm.
That's something that we can see as a
Talking
strategy.
about
Yeah, 'cause
men, a while ago, men are highly susceptible to that.
Cause didn't she try and get him to do it before this time here? So
well,
he
she's
should
been on
have.
him and on him and on
Yeah,
him.
that's what I said. So he should have like never like trusted her.
Yeah, but he
If
still
his-
had, because of his job, he still had to go back.
Well,
into the
yeah,
house
he
and
should have
be
took
around.
somebody with him for a witness. But, you know, we always have hindsight. So.
Again, had this not happened to him,
Yes, exactly.
did not left his coat behind, he wouldn't have been
Right, he
caught
wouldn't
and
have
would have been.
interpreted dreams and all kinds
Yeah,
of stuff.
exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then he wouldn't have been in jail
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
speak to the cupbearer.
Wouldn't have had all the connections
I mean,
that happened.
that's good, Holy Spirit. When the weavers are weaving a tapestry, the backside looks heinous with all those knots in it. But you turn it around and it's beautiful. That's what God did.
So the common words are used for grace and favor, chesed and chen. Noah found chen, as the text says in Genesis 6. Adonai was with Yosef, showing him chesed and giving him chen inside the prison ward.
Yeah, everybody he was with, God blessed them.
I was taught that Hesed speaks to covenant. And so Adonai was showing his covenant with Joseph and favoring him in that.
Sometimes it could be looked at as two sides of the same coin. One would be getting what you don't deserve, or not getting what you do deserve. Same ideas of that. But with Noah, I would think there'd be a covenant as well, because there's a covenant of the rainbow. It came through Noah, and it was Noah who found Chen. It doesn't show Chesed. But Noah is kind of play on words too, because Noach is Nun Chet, and Chen is Chet Nun, reverse letters. The word for Noah. So there's your Art Scroll translates this a bit differently in terms of the captain of the guard. They translate it as Chamberlain of the butchers.
That says baker.
No, that's Potiphar.
Oh, and he placed it. Okay. So they're calling the prison the butchers.
Well, the cupbearer, the baker are in the prison, but Joseph is the servant of Chamberlain of the butchers.
Maybe that's what they did with some of the people in prison.
Well, when you throw people in prison back then, it's not like you throw people in prison today where they serve their time. From what I understand, they were waiting to be executed.
Or they died there.
There was no
No,
trials.
but-
King said,
Yeah, or they
Yeah.
died in there. 'Cause
So
was a
it
horrible place.
wasn't like they were gonna keep you there for years.
Well, I look at it as the other ones who are in prison were involved in food service for Pharaoh.
Right.
Cupbearer, baker, and perhaps butcher would be along the same lines. Someone who's the chamberlain of, one who's preparing meat for the king, for the Pharaoh's table.
Pharaoh got mad at his servants quite often, probably. It was a scary thing to be a close servant of the Pharaoh.
You want it to be incognito.
Yeah. Whatever. Wasn't
The word there is tabach. It can be translated as executioner as well, slaughterer, cook, sometimes bodyguard or guardsman or butcher. So it's a word there that has multiple meanings.
Well, I can see the captain of the bodyguard.
Yeah, that's the most common translation, I think, is bodyguard, captain of the guard, yeah.
But you know, those bodyguards probably butchered a lot of people.
Maybe so. So, Joseph interprets dreams, the lifting of the head. Sometimes, as you look at it, as two ways, right? You can lift your head as in rejoice, or lift your head as in remove it from
Chop it off.
your head.
Yeah. I think it was the chopped it off.
I think Joseph could have been down in that prison thinking, oh man, I had another dream. Look what the other dream got me
Yeah,
into.
you wonder.
No filter, I can tell you the dream, man. So Joseph will not be remembered. Joseph was forgotten about, and that's kind of where our Torah portion ends there. The Midrash perceives another intent of this verse. Only the Chamberlain forgot Joseph, but the Holy One, blessed is he, remembered him, as we see in the next Torah portion.
Oh, I didn't think of the Chamberlain, because he would have probably heard about the dreams, not just the one who got out to the Pharaoh. That's who you always think of.
Mhm.
But the captain of the guard down there would have probably heard the dream too, and didn't say anything about
Thing is, it wasn't God's timing just yet, because
No,
if
it
he'd have
wasn't.
remembered, he'd have got out right then, and so that could have skewed everything, but at the right time,
it. True, because
You
Pharaoh
remembered.
remembered his dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
As you'll see, when he does meet his brothers, and he is recognized by his brothers, he will tell them, don't be afraid of me. God used this for good.
Yeah.
He used me for good. So let's see. What did you like about this reading, and what bothers you about it? Anything bother you about this reading? Maybe let me say the line of Messiah goes through Joseph or Jacob and Tamar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you noticed that the lineage of Messiah goes through a lot of twins, and it's the second twin? The first one may have stuck their hand out first, but the twin that came out is the second one.
Peretz was the first one out. The other one had his arm through and got the red cord around it. He withdrew it, and Peretz was the one who breached.
Oh, he did?
I think
Okay,
that's- I
I
think
was
that's
thinking
right.
it was the other way around.
Maybe I have it backwards. I thought that's how it was.
Because Jacob and Esau, it was the second one.
Right.
And, okay, maybe I'm off.
I think it's reversed in this portion.
Well, let's see.
And
It'd be in chapter 38, I think.
cover sheet, yeah.
Yeah. I think I like how God uses the foolish things. Adonai uses the foolish
Yeah.
to confound the wise. You cannot believe the Bible.
And it's
Stop trying.
One of them put out his hand and the midwife stood the thing. This one came out first, but he withdrew his hand and his brother came out. Okay, the Perez one is the lineage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, he did come out first. The other one's hand came out first,
Mm-hmm.
although with Jacob,
Yeah, Jacob was,
he was holding on to
Mhm.
the other one's heel.
well, that's one of the means of Yaakov, hand on heel.
Yeah. Well,
Some
They were-
interpret that as holding on to his heel. Some interpret it as he was shielding his own self from the heel,
Getting the head, not getting his
being
head
kicked
stomped
in the
on.
head.
I like that, God has a plan,
Mhm.
and no matter how much bad happens, it didn't stop his plan.
that's
Yeah.
comforting.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
It is.
It's not gonna be derailed because of human stupidity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Imagine if someone, God had a plan for someone, and it seems like all the time they have to go through all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
before
that's
they
what I don't
reach
like.
it. So if you'd have known the plan he
Yeah.
had for you,
Right.
you wouldn't have, you said, nah,
Yeah.
find somebody else.
Right. So what bothers me is how long it took to get to his plan fulfilled.
That's why he only showed Joseph the good part of the plan. Hey, they're gonna bow down to you.
Yeah, I wonder how many nights he would think like, man, am I sure I just.
I
maybe
gotta
that
go
was just a
through
regular
what, God?
dream." I don't know, it's
Prison.
just, you know.
How
Prison.
many times do we go through things and we know what God wants and we can't get there and we're wondering what's going on,
Yeah,
what's going
Yeah.
on?
Good point.
Because he's got to deal with every element surrounding the
Yeah.
situation.
Well, and
And
sometimes
when
he
the
has,
door opens,
and
it's
sometimes
like,
he has to
wow, God, he did it.
shape us and shape our character.
Yeah, it's true.
Because we don't.
He has to
grow-
prepare you for that position.
We don't grow when everything is hunky-dory. We grow
That's
when
true.
things are not, when we've got adversity
Yeah,
to grow our character.
yeah.
Although I've gotten where when things are not going well, I say, Lord, teach me the lesson really quick so we can get past this
So we
one.
can just
Can
move
you
on.
just tell me the lesson instead of letting me go through
Give
it?
me patience, give it to me now.
Yeah. Help me figure out the lesson I'm supposed to learn so I can get through this one.
What's the-
Don't want to go around this mountain
What's the
again.
lesson?
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. All right, is the text telling us to do anything? Oh, scoot down to number
Trust God
4.
with the plan.
Well, and I think Joseph was faithful with,
Yeah,
he
be
did
right.
right in what he
Right.
believed, no matter,
Yep, don't compromise your values.
he didn't
or-
compromise his values.
And that's how a lot of ministries get disabled, derailed because of compromising values.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Fleeing
prophecy
temptation.
takes time,
yeah.
so
Good point, yeah.
be prepared for the long haul.
It was years later after his prophecy that it actually happened, right?
Yeah.
Prophecy of his brothers and father bowing down before him was
Prophecy
years.
happened at what, 17? years
Yeah,
old?
17, and he's at least, I want to say, is he 30
About
something?
30 or 32 or something,
So,
when his father.
yeah, it's
Wow,
years later.
that's a short summary.
Right now, with everybody, false prophet, false prophet, false prophet. It didn't come to pass yet.
That's right.
What is a short summary of the text? You could tell someone about it.
Joseph went to see how his brothers were doing, got thrown in a pit, got sold, got betrayed, ended up in jail, and basically,
He ended up in jail. That's where this one ends.
That's it, yeah.
So
And he didn't
there's,
sin against God in all of that.
right.
Don't trust women.
Isn't
Sure, that's a lesson.
isn't there a
Take a
proverb?
man to say that.
Isn't there a is it in the Proverbs where it talks about fleeing from a strange woman?
It does talk about that, particularly like in the idea of adultery, kind of a concept. Okay.
it is in Proverbs a couple times.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So-
Solomon got a hold of that.
Mhm.
Not sure that says a whole lot with all of his wives.
Right.
Yeah.
but They were all his.
They're all strange, right?
Yeah, but they were wives.
That's what I said, they were all
She was
his.
already someone's wife.
Exactly. But I bet he wrote that about because of what Joseph did, fleeing. Like, hey, here's our lineage, catch this.
Will be. Yeah.
And don't be that woman. Hello?
That's true.
Let's
I'm not.
don't be that
Don't be
woman.
I'm
that-
not.
yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
That part, but I mean,
Actually, there's women out there that I sit there and go, makes me embarrassed to be one that you're really bad at. You know, you don't treat others well, you don't treat your husband well, and you sit there and go, you know, just,
it's an identity crisis. They don't know who they are.
Right.
They don't know whose they are. And they don't know how much they're loved.
It's sad.
or they would choose better.
Let's pray. We thank you for allowing us to Midrash on your word, to study your word, and to the freedom to discuss it. We thank you for the many blessings you've given us, and thank you for your wisdom and insight through your set-apart spirit. We thank you in Yeshua's name. Amen.
You are really safe.
Thank you, ladies, for the delicious food.